Hello everybody, welcome to the Doop Movie Podcast. My name is Keith.
My name is Brian.
And today we're going to be delving into Reminiscence.
Yes, the new movie that just came out in theaters and on HBO Max as of this recording, yesterday.
Yesterday. Wide release yesterday.
Yeah.
Its first premiere was on the 11th of August at the BFI IMAX.
Right.
It's north of the Waterloo station, you know.
Right.
It was originally scheduled for April 16th for the release, but it was replaced by Mortal Kombat, so they had to push this back down a little bit.
Yeah.
Rescheduled for September 3rd, but then, Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings are going to come out, so let's just...
Oh, wait, let's not fight against Marvel's next big movie.
Yeah, so let's just go back a couple of weekends beforehand where we'll be releasing with The Protege, which, I mean, it's a, cute little crime thriller with Maggie Q. Night House, which is a horror movie, had its Sundance release of January of 2020. And then Paw Patrol, the movie.
Which, okay.
I'm sure that probably has, its own crowd, I'm sure. A lot of families are going to go out and watch that.
I would not be surprised if there was a lot of, kids are going to go see Paw Patrol while mom and dad watch Reminiscence at the same time.
I'm sure, yeah.
We're going to kind of get into spoilers. We deep dive movies here on the Doop Movie Podcast. And so we're going to spoil the whole plot of this movie.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to be spoiled, we're going to open with our general opinion of the film. Generally, the film, I think, is pretty good.
Yes.
I don't know how much our opinions are going to differ. I know that mine is... I'm going to have a lower score than you on this one, but that's for personal reasons. That's not...
Yeah, I'm going to give this film a 6 because there are some things that I enjoy as the aspect. It's a beautiful film. I love noir. I love sci-fi. I love romance, even depending on how it's interlooped in the rest of the story. It's just the execution of the storyline isn't quite great, and some of the dialogue is a little bit crunchy in some places.
Yeah,
but aside from that, I'm really enjoying the performances.
And I have some fans who are going to be mad at me for this, but I'm going to give this film 2 scores. In the interest of full disclosure, I have to give this movie a 4 or a 5.
Mm-hmm.
Not because of anything wrong with the film, just because of... I have some personal issues that one of the actors in the movie really hit home about those personal issues with me.
Right.
And nothing to do with anything, but it made it difficult for me to watch and enjoy.
Makes sense.
As a film, if I can separate myself from it, I would give this a 6, 5.5, 6.
Mm-hmm.
So the cinematography and lighting are really, really good.
Yeah.
Jonathan Nolan was one of the producers on this film, and you can see his influence from Westworld and from, the Nolan influence.
Yeah. I mean, it's Reminiscence is written and directed by Lisa Joy, Nolan's wife.
Right.
Excuse me. Jonathan Nolan's wife, who co-created Westworld with him, and this is her feature film debut. She's written a few episodes of Pushing Daisies, was a writer-producer on Burn Notice beforehand, but...
Yeah, and I really liked Burn Notice.
Yeah.
No, you know what? No wonder this reminded me of Burn Notice.
Mm-hmm.
So, because it's set in Miami, and it's very similar... Well, I don't know. I guess maybe the shot composition?
Maybe.
Reminded me of the way Burn Notice was shot?
Yeah, but the cinematographer, Paul Cameron, she also carries over from Westworld, working with him throughout there. He was also one of the co-cinematographers from Collateral, which is a classic film. This film had a budget of $68 million.
Okay.
Which, I mean, in the,
20 of that went to Hugh Jackman, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they cut it up pretty much nowadays, especially since this is, release day and date with HBO Max.
Yeah.
They have to cut them just a little bit of a slighter better deal because it's, same day.
Yeah, there's less ticket sales.
Exactly.
So percentages aren't as powerful as they used to be.
Right. And of course, with this whole thing, HBO Max is going to get out of those plans because of the, the success and or not success of The Suicide Squad recently and how that compares to its budget and such. And I enjoy that film. We'll probably talk about that on a future date. But
so, long story short, before we get into the plot details, do you recommend this movie?
Yeah, I would recommend it at home.
Okay.
I would recommend it, in this upcoming month while it's here on HBO Max. If you just, decide to subscribe.
If you have an HBO Max subscription, it's 2 hours of your life that you will not regret spending.
No.
If you are a huge fan of film noir, or of Hugh Jackman in particular, it might be worth going to theaters to see it. I kind of want, not enough to actually do it and spend money, but I kind of want to see some of the cinematography from this movie on a big screen.
Yeah, there's some beautiful shots in this film. We'll get into some of those as well.
But, I mean, if we wanted to, I could set it up on the projector in my front room, and we could watch it on the big screen there. Yeah. So, but not everyone has access to one of those.
Exactly.
So anyway, that's your spoiler warning. It's recommended, not super highly, but it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah. And as of now, here be spoilers.
Here be spoilers.
So, the past can haunt a man. That's like the tagline for the movie, right? And it really is fitting. Yeah. We open on a flooded city, which we will find out later is Miami, if you don't recognize the skyline. Only Miami has been sort of renamed colloquially as the Sunken Coast, because this is a post-global warming world. Yeah. And the sea levels have risen, so most of Florida is underwater, right? And there are dams that are built up, and people who own a bunch of the land, who bought up a bunch of land during the unspecified quote-unquote border wars, right, have now put up all these dams, and their land is dry, and everything else is flooded. All the streets have 5 inches of water in them. Cars are constantly lifted and driving through basically canals. Yeah. Everyone drives boats everywhere. It's what if the world became Venice, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really wanted this film to get more political, and I really wanted it to go into the border wars and then into global warming and kind of make it a little bit of a message movie. I could see where they kind of shy away from that. But I don't know. I guess I'm just have different expectations of this film going into it.
Well, I mean, there are a couple things that I think the movie could have done and didn't do that I will get into when we get there. Right. Getting more political with its messaging, I think, is a double-edged sword. Yeah. Right? Exactly. You're going to be more impactful, but you're also going to alienate more people that way. Yeah. And for a debut film from a debut director, I can see playing it a little safe. Yeah. I understand it. Yeah. But I do wish they'd gotten more into detail with the backstory. So we open up on Nick, played by Hugh Jackman.
Yes, which, I mean, if you don't know Hugh Jackman, I don't know what else to tell you. But he used to play Wolverine in the up to 20 years of X-Men experience. He was Jean Valjean in Les Miserables. The film version came out in 2012, I think. And then he was recently in The Greatest Showman as P.T. Barnum, which, that has some mixed reception. He's the greatest showman, I can tell you that much.
Real Steel. He was
he's been
Hugh
in a lot
Jackman's
of stuff.
a really good actor. Yeah. And he can sing like a son of a gun.
He sure can.
It really surprised me. The music has a lot to do with the plot of this movie, and it surprised me that he didn't sing in it at all.
Yeah, but I guess it wasn't really fitting for his character to sing.
So, he plays Nick, and Nick is a veteran of, quote, the forces, right, from the wars. Yes. Right, which is left deliberately vague, but he's a Navy veteran. He says at one point later that he was in the Navy. Yeah. And he fought in the border wars. And that's all the information they give you as to his, what he did in the Army, except that he...
on his leadings and something like that.
Yeah. He worked with this Reminiscence machine doing prisoner interrogation. Mm-hmm. So now he runs a business with a machine that you can lay down in basically a sensory deprivation tank and then relive in perfect fidelity any of your old memories. Yeah.
Right? And have other onlookers looking into those memories as well, which is good for, interrogation purposes. The police force would to have
police investigations, stuff like that.
Something along those lines.
Court testifying, things like that. And it's an interesting premise. Yes. Visually, I really like the way they did it with Nick's office. He works at an old bank with his partner Watts,
who was played by Shadway Newton. She was Madame Maeve Millay in Westworld. Okay. And she was also Christine in Crash. And that film may or may not have good opinions for me, but her performance in that was top notch.
Good in this film, too. She's a good actress.
Yes. Yes.
So he and his partner Watts run this machine out of an old bank, right? And they have this big circular, almost like a small stage. Yeah. That has at first what I thought was a hologram stuff, but turns out to be an in-camera effect. It's it's a bunch of like fiber optic filaments that hang down in like a sheet, but it's three-dimensional sheet.
Yeah.
And so you see full three-dimensional images of whatever the person is remembering.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a really cool visual. It's used to really good effect in a couple of really key scenes later.
Yeah.
But you don't have to have this 3D imaging like they talk about later on when they're reminiscing, a prisoner, that the courts won't spring for anything more than 2D now, so it all shows up on a projector. But so they're working in this machine where people can go back and relive memories of like lost loved ones, or I can't find my dog, or things like that. And they pay money for this service because the world is a bleak place and nobody wants to look forward to a future where humanity is ostensibly facing extinction. Right? So they look backwards at their rosy memories of the past.
Yeah.
And she maintains the machinery, Watts does. And then Nick is sort of their guide through the memories. He keeps them from hurting themselves and so forth. They're closing up shop after helping out a couple of their friends. This, like, not quite indigent woman who comes in every couple of weeks to relive the moment she fell in love with her now dead or left her husband.
Right.
And a war veteran who comes in to remember playing with his dog.
Yeah.
Right? And they don't charge either of these people.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of softies. And they're closing up shop when there's a knock on the door, and they're like, we're closed, and it's this absolutely gorgeous woman who introduces herself as May.
Yes. Played by Rebecca Ferguson. She was Isla Faust in the Mission Impossible series, the most recent releases. She was Jenny Lind in The Greatest Showman, so she gets to, rekindle with Hugh Jackman once more.
Yeah.
And
she and Hugh Jackman have good chemistry.
And she will play Lady Jessica in Dune.
Nice.
So
I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
Not to get in the weeds on Dune, though, because, oh god, do I have opinions.
There's a lot of weeds. There's a lot of weeds in Dune, let me tell you.
But she's gorgeous to the point where it's like, it's not remarked upon in the film, but she walks in and everything grinds to a halt.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's one of those people that she could walk into an office and everyone would stop working and stare. Yeah. Like it's that kind of an entrance.
Yeah, like I mean, she's a singer and she sings at these clubs and such, and she's
a lounge singer.
Yeah, and she has these, Jessica Rabbit vibes pretty much about her, Yeah. And it's great that she sang in this film, because in The Greatest Showman, she didn't sing for her character. Somebody else sang for her because she was like playing Swedish or something.
Right.
It was something. It was a complication there, and
she's got some pipes.
I'm glad that she got that resolved. Yeah.
But anyway, so she's like, I can't find my keys.
Yeah.
Can you please help me? I can't find my keys. And they're like, we can give you a nudge.
Yeah.
Right? So they put her in the machine, and she immediately just strips naked. And they're like, you don't have to, you're going to see it all anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So Nick is a little smitten with her as she gets in the machine, and he's guiding her through her day, trying to find the keys. Right? So it shows her in her apartment. This is the first real, like, exploration of the Reminiscence machine that we get. As like, we saw the lady and her lost love, we saw the dude and his dog, but that was from afar.
Yeah.
Right? The camera like pans in and out and zooms around the Reminiscence machine, and it's beautiful cinematography. Yeah. I love the cinematographer for this.
Yeah.
And what did you say her name was, or his name?
Paul Cameron.
Paul Cameron. Yeah. And what else has he done?
He did Collateral.
Oh, okay.
With Paul Beebo, I think that was his name, and then Westworld.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed a lot of the lighting and cinematography and stuff. But anyway, so shows her going about her day, and she's like brushing her hair at a mirror, and she's looking under her thing, and come to find out, she has left her keys at the club where she works in the dressing room. They fell off the makeup table as she was getting up to go perform.
Yeah.
Right? But there's something about the song that she sings where Watts is like, okay, we know where the keys are, we can turn it off. And Nick is like, no, stop, wait. And so they watch her sing this song, and great voice.
Yeah.
And then she gets out of the tank, and, okay, well, you left him there, and she leaves. Only she left her lucky jade earrings next to the machine. So the next day, Nick goes to the club where she sings, and he sees her performing live in a blue dress because she was in a red dress in her memories, right? Which is a trope on film noir. You know, the beautiful woman in the red dress walks into your life and everything goes to hell. Yeah, you know, basically that's like the film noir. You know, of all the gin joints in all the world, you had to walk through mine. That kind of thing. Yeah. So she's in a blue dress and she sings the same song again as he's in there watching her, and he's staring at her while she wanders around this bar singing, and she knows she's noticed him. Like she knows he's staring. She wants him to be staring at her. And he, after the performance, he comes up to her and he gives her earrings back, and they get to chatting, and they wind up back at her place. She's like, "Will you escort me home?" Yeah, right. They wind up back at her place for the day, and I say for the day because Miami has become nocturnal. Yeah. Being as close to the equator as Florida is, as Miami is, the temperature is well over 110, 115 in the day. Yeah. So everybody sleeps during the day and they go out at night. Yeah. Right. So, and they wind up hooking together. Up. Yeah. Yeah. They have relations. Yes. And then it cuts to Nick waking up in the tank 3 months later. Yeah. And what we've been seeing are his memories of his time with May. Now, he wakes up in the tank and he's unshaven and he is kind of a drunk and he's not showered, he's not washed, and he's like voice recorded himself, guiding himself into those memories again and again. Yeah. And Watts pulls him out and she's like, "You can't keep doing this to yourself. She's gone." And he's like, "She wouldn't just disappear." But apparently May disappeared. Yep. Right? So now May is gone out of his life, and he can't figure out why. Right? So he's sort of obsessed with finding her. He's obsessed with reliving his memories of her. Right. Up to the point where it started affecting his job. Yeah. Some of their regular clients are now going to the pods, which are like the corporate... I'm finger quoting when I say the pods. Which are like the corporate reminiscence machines. It's the Walmart of reminiscence, I guess. Yeah. Right? That'd be a good comparison. Yeah. So Watts is like, "You've got to stop living in the past like this. You got to let it go. Yeah. You got to be done with this." Yeah. And she's like, "We've got a job with the police, right? The police need help, in one of their investigations, and we're going to help them." So they go in, and they are trying to convict what's called a land baron, one of those people who during the wars bought up all this cheap land and are now basically giant slumlords. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, the haves as opposed to the have-nots. Yeah. In this world.
Haven't seen a divide like this since Soylent Green. Yeah. They did get quite a few Soylent Green vibes from some of the imagery in this movie. Not so much the eating people part, but the haves and have-nots divide kind of a thing. Yeah. So they're interrogating. They have this dude who OD'd on drugs, but they're keeping him alive through like intravenous fluids and stuff. And he's in a reminiscence machine. And so they've hired Nick and Watts to guide through his memories to try and find evidence for, connection to other people. So they go back to New Orleans, where this guy is from, in his memories, and where he talks to a dude named St. Joe.
Played by Daniel Wu. You might recognize him from Into the Badlands as Sonny. He was the main actor in that. And he was also Lou Ren in Tomb Raider. Recently released a couple of years back.
Oh, yeah, based on the new games.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, as the ship captain.
I knew that dude looked familiar, but I could not place it.
Yeah, he did pretty good in this film.
He was good. Anyway, so there's a cop working for him named Booth, right? And they're pushing a new drug called Baca. Yeah. Right? Which is kind of like, meth or heroin or something. It's
like a hard substance sort of drug, pretty much.
It's stated to be so addictive that you can't ever stop. Yeah. Like there is no kick in the habit. Once you're on it forever.
That's it. Yeah.
So one of the things that was said during, I'm sorry, I should have said this during the part when he's talking about May. One of the things that she said to him was, "Tell me a story," in one of the memories together. And he's like, he's like, "What story?" She says, "Anything with a happy ending." Yeah. And he says, "Well, there is no story. There's no such thing as a happy ending. All endings are sad, especially if the story was happy.
Which is a great quote, actually. Yeah.
And she's like, well, tell me a story and stop in the middle.
Yeah.
And he talks about Orpheus and Eurydice. And then that's when it just kind of skips ahead a little bit. Mm. So anyway, they're talking to St. Joe. Or they're watching this memories of this like low-level dealer who was talking to St. Joe.
Yeah.
And who is in the bar with St. Joe at his side except May.
Yep.
And so Nick is flabbergasted at this. When was this memory? And Watts is like, this was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? So this was way before May ever came to Miami.
Yeah.
Long story short, they get some of the information they need, but he just walks out on the entire thing. Right? They do mention that at one point, one of the investigators gets fed up with him trying to look more at May.
Yeah. It's like, that's not important. Like, who cares about this junkie?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So what you need to do is, we need to ask about, who sold you the vodka? When did you bring the vodka to Miami?
Yeah.
And the guy starts having a seizure.
Yeah.
He starts what they call blanking.
Yeah.
And Nick is like, you asked him a leading question that he doesn't have memories of it, and so the brain goes to static. Yeah. And if he keeps going too long, he's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
So after getting him back onto the machine and getting him out of the blank state, Nick walks out of the interrogation. Mm-hmm. And he just basically walks out of there and immediately buys a ticket for New Orleans.
Yeah.
Right? He's like, okay, well, I have to go find May. I have to, do this. So he goes to New Orleans. And he is like, okay, I have to figure out who she was before she was with me. So maybe that'll give me a clue as to where she went.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's obsessed with finding her. He was in love with her.
Yeah.
So he goes to the bar, and that's where St. Joe still is. Mm-hmm. And he gets in using the same name drop that the criminal had used in his memories.
Yeah.
Right? And so Joe starts talking to him, and then, has his goons grab him and is like, yeah, the guy that you said introduced you has been dead for years, so you lied to me.
Yeah.
And
how did you get this information?
Yeah. Yeah. And they're about to murder him, and he's like, I just want to know about May, what happened to May. And St. Joe was like, well, you had it bad. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow, she was not who you think she was. Yeah. And they are going to kill him by basically shoving him in a tank full of eels. Mm-hmm. Right? When, in one of the most badass moments in the movie, the bouncer at the door gets, blown across the room by a shotgun.
Yeah.
And in walks Watts.
Yeah.
Right? Now, at this point, they've got Nick, hands behind his back, face in the water in a fish tank, and he's watching this through the water as the eels are kind of biting at his face. Mm-hmm. And Watts just goes in and just blows the room away.
Yeah.
Right? She gets into a gunfight behind cover with St. Joe, who finally is taken out. She goes, damn, I'm out. Mm-hmm. Right? After Nick overpowers the guy who's holding him down. And St. Joe turns around to point his gun at Nick, thinking that Watts is safe.
Yeah.
And he takes a bullet in the back.
Yeah.
She lied.
Yeah.
Right? Which is a really badass thing to do. Mm-hmm. And as he's dying, he's like, we need to don't let me die like they did in the camps, right? Which is, again, touching on this political thing. Apparently there were concentration camps during the border wars, but they don't go into detail about it.
Yeah, right? Because, Nick, Hugh Jackman, he went into details like how he was, drafted into it as opposed to being, in prison pretty much. You know?
So Watts is like, fine, we'll part as friends, and she shoots him in the head rather than letting him bleed out through a stomach wound. And they leave, and they got a little bit of information from him as far as this is when we find out that Watts had been hiding the fact that she knew all along that May was a junkie.
Right.
Right? We don't know when she found out yet, but Nick's a little off-put by the fact that, Watts knew that she was on Baca and didn't tell him.
Yeah. Well, that's not my thing to tell.
Yeah, that's not my story to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of losing the track of the plot at this point.
At some point, Nick gets interloped into the Sylvan Circle of people.
Sylvan is the land baron who is who owns a lot of Miami. Right? He's the one who put up the dams and is keeping most of the town flooded and stuff.
Yeah, Walter Sylvan, played by Brett Cullen. You might recognize him from Joker, where he was Thomas Wayne.
I never saw Joker.
Oh, wow. That's something.
That is on my list, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been in some other things. He was in a few episodes of Lost, and then he was a few episodes of The West Wing. Governor Ray Sullivan. I never made it that far, so I don't know if you would recognize that name. But yeah, Walt.
I West Wing is one of my favorite shows.
Yeah, I figured you probably seen his face at some point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brett. Yeah, Walter was in this marriage to Tamara, I think. I don't know how they pronounced it, but Tamara, who was played by Marina de Tavira. She played Senora Sofia in Roma, the recent, Netflix release. Got a lot of praise, and she did amazing in that. Marina is stuck in this time loop, pretty much. She's spurned from this memory of whenever she had to tell her husband that she's expecting for a baby.
So Watts finds out, or Nick finds out from Watts that May was alone with the vault one time.
Mm-hmm.
The vault where he stores sensitive police files and stuff, memories from his interrogations.
Yeah.
May got Watts a little drunk, and then proceeded to get her to confess about her daughter. And Watts had to go off and kind of be by herself for a minute. And May broke into the vault using the song that Nick was always humming to himself, the same song that she was singing at the bar.
Yeah.
And then, so they're examining the memories, and this is when we find out that she stole the files from the woman who keeps coming in to look for her lost love.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, come to find out, the lost love was having an affair with the land baron.
Yeah.
Who is dying now.
Yeah.
In present day, he's dying of lung cancer.
Yeah. The woman who was finding out the lost love, the one with the affair with Walter, Elsa, she's played by Emira Serafin. She was also from Westworld. She played Clementine Pennyfeather.
Well, this is just the Westworld reunion movie, is what this is.
I got a couple actors and then cinematographer and all that.
Yeah,
it's pretty great.
So he goes to the estate because at this point the Baron has died, and his the people are almost ready to riot because they wanted to the people wanted his monopoly of land to be broken up by the government,
right? But
the government instead decided that it wasn't a monopoly because corrupt courts. And so the son and the mother, who, as Keith mentioned, is insane, are set to inherit all that money and all that land, right?
Yeah, she keeps calling her son Walter. She still thinks that she's pregnant with the son that she's talking to.
Yeah, and we learned earlier that the reminiscence machine is dangerous because if you do the same memory too much, or too powerfully, you can burn it into your mind, and then that's all you'll ever see for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Is you'll be stuck in that memory on a loop for the rest of your life.
Which is where she's at,
Yeah, she burned the night that she told her husband she was pregnant.
Yeah. Into
her memory for the rest of her life, and she's stuck there. So, Nick goes to their house to try and question them about what's going on, he's still trying to find May.
Yeah.
And because in the memories, they see that Booth worked for the land baron.
Yeah.
That's why he went to the house.
Yep.
Took me a minute. I got there.
Yeah, Booth.
Booth, the cop that was in the bar with St. Joe, the dirty cop.
Who's played by Cliff Curtis. You might recognize him from Fear the Walking Dead as Travis Manama.
Okay.
He played this character, Genesis, in this New Zealand film called The Dark Horse, which I'm really interested in now just because it had so many great awards from the Asian Pacific, Film Awards and the New Zealand. It was pretty much the best New Zealand film of 2014 based on what I've heard. And then he was Pablo Escobar in Blow.
Nice. Nick goes here, and they have set up a fake storefront where it's like a recreation of the store that the wife of the land baron worked at, and so she can relive this memory with a bunch of different actors stepping in to relive it with her over and over again.
Yeah.
Right? And they sort of assume that Nick is one of the actors, because he's wearing similar clothes.
Yeah.
So they hand him the white hat that the Land Baron wore all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he steps in, and she starts going through the script, and he starts questioning her about May, and that's when the son walks in and calls security, right? So he doesn't get any answers except for something the mom said about where all the trash washes up.
Yeah.
Right? And security throws him out, and they're about to murder him, because he's like, or the mom says in one of her lucid moments, do with him what my husband would have done.
Right.
Right? And so they drag him out, and they're going to shoot him, and they notice his Navy tattoo on his arm. And the guy's like, did you serve? He goes, yeah, I did 2 tours in the border wars in the Navy. He's like, I was in the Army.
Yeah, I did 3 tours.
Yeah, 3 tours in the border myself. Get out of here. Don't come back.
Yeah, like he shoots next one, it's like next one it won't miss.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so it's obvious, like, respect for a fellow veteran kind of a thing.
Right.
So, at this point, the voiceover, and there's been voiceover for this whole film, because it's film noir,
yeah.
right? And it's Nick. And he's like, there was only one place, because I got what I needed, right? Mm-hmm. There was only one place where all the stuff and all the trash in Miami washes up, the recycling center. So he goes to the recycling center to try and find May, but he finds Booth.
Yeah.
And he and Booth start by getting into it. When Nick walks in, Booth is reliving a memory with some woman that he's hired, whether it's a call girl or just an actress or whatever, of some woman saying, well, some people don't fall in love, they plummet, and then touch me right here. Like, it's obviously he's trying to relive this memory. And the woman looks just like May. Not like exactly, but like close enough that it's obviously he's reliving a memory of May.
Right.
So Nick walks in and he starts questioning Booth, and Booth tells him, he's like, you're never gonna get what you want from me. And so Nick pulls a gun. He's like, go ahead, shoot me, then you'll never know.
Yeah.
Right? If I die, you can't put me in the machine.
Right.
And so they start a chase. And this is a decent action scene. I mean, Hugh Jackman can do action scenes, right?
Yeah.
And the cinematography, still good.
Yeah. Especially out towards the end of this fight scene. Like, they find themselves down to this house, and they're fighting all the way down to, like, the bottom of the floor. Then Nick traps Booth's, like, hand inside of this piano, pretty much, and then, like, you know what I'm saying?
Then the floor collapses.
The floor collapses, and then there's this beautiful shot from, like, under the house, and, like, there's, like, small beam of light, like, diagonally showing down.
It's underwater now.
You know, yeah. Like, because it's a sunken city, obviously. So this house is gonna, you know.
The bottom floor of this house is ocean.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, it is an absolutely gorgeous shot of the piano going down, and there's light beams coming through, and this is just... this is all in-camera effects, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
So Booth, or Nick stands there for a minute, because Booth has now been basically drugged down by this piano underwater, and he hesitates for a minute, and I wrote in my notes, you have to save him, or you're not going to get any information from him.
Right.
So he jumps in, and he gets in an underwater fight with Booth, who kicks him in the chest and knocks all the wind out of him, and then swims for the surface. And so now Nick is underwater, and he's about to drown.
Yeah. And
he has sort of a vision of May floating in the water next to him. And he reaches for her, and she kind of vanishes up into the light in a very... It's a very tropey film noir scene.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But it kind of gives him the motivation to swim back up to the surface.
Right.
Anyway, he surfaces, and Booth is in the room still. He's messing around with his like stuff or whatever. He doesn't hear Nick approaching, and Nick has the drug they use with the Reminiscence machine that puts people into like the trance state.
Yeah. And
he injects Booth with the thing from behind. Right? And then smash cut to back at their bank office, and this guy is tied up and in the Reminiscence machine. And so he's being questioned about May.
Yeah.
So and now we find out that Booth hired May to research Nick because she was he knew her from her time in New Orleans, right? And he knew what kind of con woman she was. Yeah. And hired May to research everything about Nick to get in and steal these files, right? These files about Elsa. Come to find out that Booth was hired by the son of the Land Baron who was dying.
Yeah, Sebastian. Played by... I'm not going to say... I don't know how I'm going to say this name. It's Mojan area. He's a new actor. He just won the Heath Ledger Scholarship of 2017.
Okay.
You know,
but he hired him to get rid of Elsa and his half brother to make sure that he inherited most of his father's fortune and not the brother.
Yeah.
Right. So Booth hired May to get the files about Elsa and where she's located from Nick. So he's walking through and he's training her how to, basically how to con him. Right? No, you got to walk this way. You got to say it this way. You got to do it this way.
Yeah.
And come to find out, she really did fall in love with him.
Yeah.
Like, it started as a con, but the more time they spent together, the more she really had feelings for him.
Yeah.
And that was her whole thing with, tell me a story and stop in the middle.
Right.
Because she knew how their story was going to end, and she knew that wasn't a good ending, so she wants to stop in the middle and be happy with him.
Yeah.
But she got the information and she got back, and then she walked away. She told Booth, I'm not going to do this with you anymore. I'm done. You've got the information.
Right.
And this is when Booth gives her more of the drug. Yep. And so this is Booth's memory of May. And May, at this point, has come to the realization that Nick is either going to find her or not, or die trying.
Right.
Which means Booth is going to wind up in the machine.
Yeah.
So she starts talking to Nick through Booth's memories, which I thought was a really cool kind of development.
Mm-hmm.
And she basically says, talking about where's the kid? Come to find out, when Elsa went to, or when Booth went to get Elsa and the kid,
right?
We had earlier heard from someone that May took the kid no matter how much he would scream and drove away with him.
Yeah.
Come to find out, she was rescuing him from the man who had just killed Elsa.
Yeah.
Right, from Booth.
Yeah.
And she mentions to Nick that the kid is hidden away in the same house where she was hidden away when she first washed up in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Which is something that Booth would have no idea what she was talking about, but Nick would know.
Yeah.
Right? So she knew she was talking to Nick, and she's like, I truly did love you. I truly did that. And I'm sorry, but this is the way it has to be. And then she kills herself.
Yeah.
Rather than give up Freddy, the little boy.
Yeah.
Right? She leaps off into the void, basically. Mm-hmm. At first I thought, that she was going to be rescued and stuff, but no, she splats.
Yeah,
she's dead. So she killed herself to protect the boy, and this is when Nick kind of goes off the deep end. Right, he just watched the love of his life die.
Yeah,
found out that yes, she was conning him, but she really did love him in the end.
Yeah,
and he decides that Booth is going to pay for this. He said, and now we're going to go back to your most traumatic memory. He said, we're going to go back to the night you got all these scars, because Booth is scarred like head to toe from burn. He's a burn victim. And so he starts to relive the night he got burned by St. Joe and his goons.
Yeah, and
that's when Nick cranks up the voltage on the machine and burns into his mind the night he got burned.
Yeah.
So now Booth is going to live the rest of his life reliving the traumatic moment of him burning almost to death over and over and over again. It's awful.
Yeah.
It's a terrible thing to do to somebody.
Yeah.
And it well deserved.
Yeah.
I think I would have done it too.
Yeah.
So Nick goes to the kid, the land baron's son, and he's like,
Sebastian.
Yeah, Sebastian. Sorry, and he's like, you don't worry about your security guards. The cops are already on their way to come and pick you up. They found Freddy in a little white house out in the ocean where he was being protected by a nice woman named Francine. And now that your whole story has come to light, you hired Booth to burn down a tenement building to get rid of all the evidence of your father's affairs so you could, protect your inheritance.
Right.
But it's all over now.
Yeah.
Right. And Francis pulls a gun on him, but can't bring himself to shoot him. And Nick is like, no, you were never one to do your own dirty work. Right. And so then he leaves before the cops show up, and he goes to Watts, Now, earlier in the movie, before he went after Booth, he and Watts had a falling out.
Yeah.
Right? And where he said some horrible things about how she abandoned her daughter, and she said some really nasty things about him living in the past with, his memories of May.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "You're fired."
Yeah.
Right?
After all this time, like, both of us were fighting in the border wars together and all this, like, this is really how you're going to do me?
Yeah.
Much.
So what he does is he has set her up with a job as basically doing what he did.
Yeah.
But at, the pods, the Walmart of Reminiscence.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes to her, and he's like, "I burned someone on purpose." It's the first words out of his mouth. And she's like, "You can't say that. They're going to reminisce me, and they're going to know." Right. And he's like, "I'm counting on it."
Right.
He's like, I want you to go find your daughter. I want you to live your life. But first you need to hear my confession."
Yeah.
And this is when he starts telling the story of everything that happened and everything he did. And this is when you find out that the narration of him has been him telling Watts the story the whole time.
Yeah.
Right? And then, so now we cut to a montage where the story breaking about what Sebastian did and like the depravity of his crimes was like the spark that lit the riots.
Yeah.
So there's going to be social change. And this was, a friend of mine who watched the movie with me pointed out, this was kind of came out of left field. And they had showed the protests earlier.
Yeah, like there's all these posters about, Sylvan is scum, pretty much.
Yeah,
basically,
a
like
lot of graffiti.
talking about Walter and stuff, and like there's
Sink
this,
the Barons.
there's this animosity between your general people and the haves, pretty much, like the haves and the have-nots. Like
that's been touched on a few times, but this one kid doing some shady stuff and like with trying to get rid of his brother, it's bad. But it does kind of come out of left field as far as like, well, this is what starts the revolution kind of a thing.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. And I totally see my friend's point.
Yeah.
Bob, you were right about that. It doesn't ruin the movie for me like it did for him.
Right.
But it does, like, well, you said the story kind of chunks at a couple points, and this is one of the big ones for me.
Exactly. Yeah. Like the whole socio-political aspects of this film needs to be improved.
Or explored more.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah. Like that would definitely have given this a higher rating in my book. If it
definitely
explores those different things, like gave it maybe another 15 minutes to kind of like really flesh out these details. Yeah. And like make it a nice, concise story.
Something Bob actually said was that this movie would have been way better as a miniseries.
Yeah.
Like give it like, a 6-episode, 49-minute per episode miniseries leading up to it, where they could really delve into the socioeconomic stuff and so and
I can agree with that.
Yeah, I can totally see that as well. I agree with that as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he in his montage, he's like, with my evidence to the police, I did a crime, which is worse than murder. Right. So I'm going away.
Yeah.
But they granted me my last request rather than executing me for, basically torturing Booth for the rest of his life.
Pretty much.
He gets into his own machine and he loads up his recording of his voice to lead him back through all his memories of the happy times with May, and then he burns himself.
Yep.
So he is stuck forever reliving the memories with May over and over and over again.
He's stuck in the middle of his happy story.
Right. Yeah. This is the. I don't know why I said this is like 7 times there. Sorry. This is a really good kind of a theme drop.
Yeah.
Right? Because it cuts back to tell me a story, one with a happy ending, and tell me a happy story and stop in the middle.
Right.
And so that's what he did.
Yeah.
He tells himself the happy story of him and May, and he stops in the middle before things go bad.
Yeah.
And the last scene of the movie is we see Watts walk into the vault, the bank, where he is, spending his twilight years in this machine.
Yeah.
And now she is an old woman. She's got gray hair and wrinkles, and there's a younger woman with her. She's like, "Hey, Grandma, is this the guy you keep talking about?" So Watts went out and found her daughter and her granddaughter and found her family, and she's been taking care of Nick in his machine. He went out. She says something, one of the most powerful lines in the film is, "We hit a crossroads, and he chose to look back, and I chose to look forward.
Yeah.
And neither one of those was a bad choice." Right? So now he's stuck in the past with his happy memories, and she looked forward to the future and found her family again.
Yeah.
And then it like zooms back out, and then we go to credits. It's a poignant story.
Yeah.
Some of the things well, I'll get into some criticisms in a minute, but it's a love story, but it's also very much...
It's a tragedy, too.
Yeah, it's Orpheus and Eurydice are, if you know the myth behind it, it's a very similar story.
Yeah.
But when he finally, the final scene of him and May is they're standing there and he's got her in his arms and she's like, tell me a story of Orpheus and Eurydice. And he tells the beginning of the story, and then she's like, and they lived happily ever after? And he goes, how else could it end? Yeah. And then that's the end of his and May's, scenes.
Right.
That's the end of their story.
Yeah.
Right. It stops in the middle where everything is still happy. I enjoyed the film. I enjoyed the cinematography and the lighting a lot. I enjoyed a lot of the visuals.
Right.
The scene where May is talking to Nick through Booth's memories.
Yeah.
Oh, and I left out a part, actually. She knew that he was investigating, so she dropped...
Oh, yeah. She dropped her earrings on purpose.
Yeah, she dropped one of her earrings in front of his building to kind of keep him on the case.
Yeah. Yeah, because she's the con woman.
Yeah, she's not stupid.
Right.
But anyway, as she's talking to Nick through Booth's memories, he walks into this, like, 3D image of the memory, and he's, like, pushing aside the filaments, and so he sort of takes the place of Booth, and she's, like, got her hand on his face, and is like, some people don't fall in love, we plummet.
Right.
Like, and she's talking to Nick, not Booth.
Yeah.
Right? And that's just great imagery of, like, he's pushing these, like, filament wires out of the way, but he's, like, reaching for ghosts of the past, and it's a beautiful sequence.
Yeah.
Something I wish they had done more of, that I have in my notes several times that I really thought they were going to get into, was fake memories. Okay. Right? Which I can see rich people, staging fake memories for when they get reminisced so they don't have their crimes. Like, I see that happening in this world, like, as the world is set up. Mm-hmm. And with the whole, like, the mom is in the fake storefront, and when they finds Booth is, like, doing trying to relive that one memory over and over again in his head. Yeah. And, when he does the montage where he's training May, he does they faked the memory of her losing her keys, right? Like, I really thought they'd go more into that, but they didn't. They didn't even really touch on it at all. Yeah. And I think that was a really missed opportunity for this movie, and I actually knocked a point off for that. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. And, like, the film itself is a very convoluted plot in general. Like, it's difficult to really keep track of some of the sequences of events, more so. The pacing is kind of slow in a lot of places, for sure.
It's a bit of a slow boil. Yeah. It's, kind of nothing happens for the first 20 minutes of the movie. Right. And a lot of the action scenes felt gratuitous. Mm-hmm. You could have gotten the point across of the film with less involved fight scenes and action sequences. Right. Like the gun battle in New Orleans went on, a couple minutes too long. The chase with Booth, I thought, went on too long. And I get that
they need to cut some images together for the trailer, basically.
Yeah, they needed trailer fodder. They needed something to hook modern audiences who are expecting action films. Right. 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 And the taglines, or the synopsis for all the movies that was given out, was that he was this private detective who went through people's memories to solve mysteries. Yeah. Like, that's not at all the story. Right. Right. But it's a good misdirect.
I mean, it is and it isn't. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's not a private detective. He's just some dude who works at this shop who happens to work with the police sometimes. Yeah. But it's a good misdirect and a good way to get people in the theater and then show them the real story you want to tell them. Because if you say, well, let's go watch a tragic love story between two people told through other people's memories, that doesn't have as much of a draw to it. Yeah. Right? But yeah, as I said, this movie was difficult for me to watch. Yeah. Because of May, the actress who played May, and the way she played May reminded me of someone that I find difficult to think of. And that's all the detail I'm going to get into on recording, but it's
That's respectable, and that's a very valid reason to, have your opinion of this film.
Yeah, so I find it real hard to rate this film because of that.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of like the opposite problem of I have other films where I really enjoyed seeing it for the first time with friends and whatever, and that has tainted my memory of it, and so I think the film is better than it was.
Yeah.
This one...
It's tainted for
I feel like this film is worse than it is.
Yeah.
So I don't even remember what rating I gave it. I think I gave it like a 6 earlier in the podcast.
Yeah, you said you gave it 2 ratings. Like you give, your personal rating is like a 4.
Yeah.
And then your general rating is like a 6.
Yeah,
much.
And the rating you should go on, you the listener, should go on is this film is a good solid 6.
Yeah.
Right. Don't let my personal issues with the film hinder you. That's not. It doesn't affect the film in any way.
Right.
Right. It's not like I knew any of these people.
Yeah.
Just I find it difficult to talk about this.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to interest of full disclosure.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It's a good explanation of the premise, or exploration of the premise. A movie it reminded me a lot of, and I thought it was better than, was Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
You think this film is better than that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, maybe not better than, but more visually appealing to me.
Okay.
I really like the visual aesthetic of film noir.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not so much for the stories, but the whole smoky rooms and the way the scenes are lit and stuff was more appealing to me than Spotless Mind.
Mm-hmm.
But the films kind of touch on similar subject matter.
Yeah.
Right. And it is worth, if you're a fan of Spotless Mind, this is definitely worth seeing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy Spotless Mind a little bit more, but again, it has been a while since I've seen it.
Same.
I'm sure I would probably have a different view of it just based on general life, differences now as to back then. But,
I really...
I can see the similarities that you're pointing out here. I saw a lot of similarities to Inception and Blade Runner and stuff, but
that opening shot sweeping in through the city, through Miami, was just straight out of Christopher Nolan's playbook.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely a Nolan was involved in this movie.
Yeah, a Nolan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jonathan Nolan works with his brother a lot, so
exactly.
It's not...
Yeah.
It's...
They're of the same mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is fine.
Yeah.
He's good.
Yeah. And his wife was the one who wrote and directed this, so it's kind of makes sense, like a whole family project pretty much.
Yeah.
So.
But anyway, that's kind of my final thoughts on the film. Do you have anything you want to kind of cap off with?
I think we've touched it all up. I mean, again, the idea of this being a miniseries and really fleshing out the socio-political, aspect to the premise would be more interesting for ourselves personally. I think it would.
My friend Bob was the one who came up with that, and that's a really good idea.
I think that would be a better idea for this premise. But again, there's Lisa Joy. You did a good job. The film was great.
I look forward to your future works.
Yes, definitely. That's for sure. I look forward to seeing you direct again.
Yeah. I especially look forward to seeing the cinematographer again.
Yeah, Paul Hammer. Yeah,
that dude can light a scene like nobody's business.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that is going to do it for the Doop Movie Podcast episode for Reminiscence.
That's it. My name is Keith.
My name has been Brian. Bye, everybody.
We'll see you later.